Welcome back to the Elise Surkov podcast, where I help women in perimenopause and menopause thrive unapologetically from the inside out. All right, today I'm going to get super vulnerable. I got a kind of mean comment on one of my posts on the gram the other day. And I will say I typically don't get a lot of hate, or I just don't really care. But this one kind of really pissed me off because this guy, yes, it was a guy, it was a dude, was like, "Oh, how lucky for you to be genetically gifted." And you know what? I can't remember what he said. I did post it and screenshotted it, but it was something like, "You're genetically gifted and you're talking about how hard it is, and stop throwing your words around," or something like that. And I was like, "All right, buddy, fuck you, but also thank you. Because if you think that this is easy and I got here by genetics, then I really hope Dee Dee, David, wherever you are, in whatever capacity you are, first of all, I wish you peace. And second of all, I hope you listen to this, because I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable and explain to you, how did I end up here? How do I end up looking the way I do at 46 years old with 3 kids, a dog, a husband, a full-time business that I run, and still make time for myself, which might feel like a joke as I'm saying it, because I am literally approaching a new energy that I had to shed because I burnt out severely over the last 2 weeks. All right, so let me jump in. I will start by saying that I am pretty petite. I'm 5'1" after yoga. I wake up in the morning and I'm 5'1", and by the end of the day, I'm probably closer to 5 feet. And I'm 125 pounds, all right, average. Sometimes I'm 123, sometimes I'm 126. It really depends on where I am in my cycle, where I am in my day. But that's kind of where I am. So, in terms of size, I'm looking like a size 2, size 4. Now, it wasn't always this way. I definitely was a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. I will say that I am probably the leanest I've ever been, the strongest I've ever been for sure, but I'm also the most dialed in I've ever been in my life. Now, if you haven't listened to my first or second podcast, where it's meet Elise, I do talk about my journey, what got me here, and all the things that have gone along the way. But I went from a dancer background to a fitness background. I really enjoyed the body. I liked the way the body moves, understanding the science behind it. I'm a bit of a science nerd there. But I always had this notion in my head that I was really strong, and I didn't need to lose weight. And that was such a healthy approach for pretty much up to my 40s, where I was like, I can eat and do whatever I want because nothing seems to matter. But every time I looked at a picture of myself, I did kind of feel a little bit on the, I want to say chunkier side, although I would never have called myself chunky. But because I'm short, and if you're petite, then you know that 1 pound on us is 5 pounds on a, woman that's 5'4" and up, right? Non-petite. So every pound really does make a big deal. But for me, I was just really sick and tired of feeling puffy, and my clothes weren't fitting me. I was in a size 6 jeans. I was busting out of them, going to a size 8, which I don't care. At the time, I didn't really care about the numbers. And this is when I was 41, 42. I didn't really care about the size of the pants. Nothing really seemed to bother me like that. It was more so that I had just gotten a size 6, and now I was about to get a size 8. And I was like, what is going on here? I don't feel like myself. I don't look like myself. This is the starting of perimenopause, right? So it's oh my God, things are starting to shift out of nowhere. And I had to work really fucking hard. And I started doing this December 2019. Actually, I started it December 2019. So the worst possible time that most people don't start is right after Christmas. That was me. And I started with nutrition. I really didn't want to count calories or macros. I was very much against it. I was I eat well. I was very angry at myself. I was having an angry fight with myself. I was I eat well. I don't need to do this, but I want to do this, but I don't want to do this. And so I just figured I have to fucking do this because I want to change. And I will give a shout out to my trainer and really good friend, Carlton, who is still with me at the gym. And he has always been a really good friend and mentor for me. And he was like, I get it. You want people to look at you and know exactly what you do. And I was like, that is it. People looked at me and were like, hey, Elise, do you work out? And that just fucking crushed me, because here I was working in fitness. I was an instructor at the college, training, mentoring students in health and fitness training. I was teaching classes, training. I worked in corporate. I did all the things, and people are asking me if I work out. I was like, I don't look the way I feel I should. That really bothered me. So I just was very motivated to just do it the right fucking way. I also had to really let my ego go. This was the first time in my life I just had to swallow it hard and be like, all right, I'm going to pretend that I don't know everything. How naive was I then at like 41, 42? I can't remember, 42, thinking like, I fucking know everything. I knew nothing. And then COVID hit, right? And so here is everybody leaning on alcohol. And I was like, there's no way I'm going back to alcohol. I had kind of stopped drinking that day, December 26th. And I wasn't going to go back to it. No, I didn't quit cold turkey. I just wasn't we drank so much wine. I was like embarrassed to take it back to the liquor store. I was embarrassed for our neighbors to see the empties in our garage. Like that's how much we were drinking. And so to go from that to like nothing or having tea and having like one drink. So in COVID on Friday nights, I made steak, French fries, and I had one glass of vodka. And that just felt like a fucking diet at the time. And I'm laughing because I'm like, steak, French fries, and vodka sounds like the best meal ever. But that's kind of how I started. I just was like, I am not going back to that old pattern of behavior. And even in COVID, when the gym shut down, I trained, I did all the things I would have done had COVID not happened. It definitely was harder because everybody was home, had the kids around, stress went right through the roof, right? We were like, do we vaccinate? Do we not vaccinate? I was really stressed out with having a kid with high needs. I was kind of against vaccination, but then I did have the horrible feeling of what if something happens to me and Albert, what will happen to Owen? What will happen to our kids? And we went for it. We went for early vaccination. It was just a very confusing time. And I felt like I went through this when I was pregnant with my second kid, and H1N1 was the latest thing. And I didn't want to vaccinate then. And it was just like, ugh, what a horrible time. We all went through it. So I know however you felt, however you were with me for that. But I digress. I continued for the next 6 months sticking to my plan, which wasn't even that strict at the time. I was just tracking my food and trying not to eat like an asshole because literally every weekend I fucking ate whatever I wanted. So I was still eating like an asshole, but I was starting to eat less and less like an asshole and starting to like realize, oh my God, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm not bloated. This is an amazing feeling. Is that because I didn't overeat yesterday? Well, I wonder what it would feel like if I did that again. And then I was like, what would it feel like on Monday morning to wake up and not feel like that? Okay. So as I'm doing this, it's 6 months in. No one's seeing me because it's COVID. And I go out for something. I don't know. I see some friends and they're like, wow, your body's really changed. And I'm like, really? Because I haven't lost 1 fucking pound. And my friends are starting to notice. Now I'm like, well, you haven't seen me in 6 months. Like maybe the last time you saw me, I was like more inflamed, more bloated. And they're like, I don't know. You look like really buff. You're looking really strong. And I was like, oh my God, really? Is it working? Do I look like I work out? My vanity kind of took over, right? But I'll say this, at the end of that transformation, which took me about 15 months, I lost a little over 10. I lost between like 10 to 15 pounds, but I lost nothing in the first 6 months. So the first 6 months, nothing really changed. And that was hard as fuck. And I just kept going. I didn't really think about it. I didn't go week to week and be like, why is nothing changing? I wasn't like I was weighing myself every day because I always did, but I didn't like say like, why is the weight not up? I just was like, I'm just going to keep going. Cause like, I don't know what else to do at this point. So I want to stress the fact that in those 6 months or even to those 13 to 15 months that took me to kind of the size I am right now, it was really fucking hard and I failed a lot. I had a lot of Monday mornings where I overate and I was bloated and I hated it and I was in the bathroom. I had a lot of times where I was sick to my stomach because I ate the foods I shouldn't have eaten, like they were loaded with dairy or gluten or all the things that like really make me sick. And I started to like have more biofeedback for myself of like what I liked and didn't like. And that's when I started thinking, fuck, I can do this for other women. Like, do other women know that like this is how granular you have to get if you want to change things up? And then I remember when my clothes stopped fitting me. That was a really, I want to say it was an exciting moment, but it was eye-opening. I was like, holy fucking shit. It was gradually, suddenly, which if you haven't listened to that podcast, go listen to that one. I'll link it below. But I literally remember being like, my shorts don't fit. Like they're falling down. My jeans don't fit. I needed to get smaller clothes. And so I did. And then I was like in between sizes. And so it was like, what do I do? Things are baggy or things are tight. And then it got to the point where the tighter things weren't tight anymore. And I actually got rid of my bigger clothes. And I am today where I And what I ended up like weight wise back when I was, let's say 43, 44, today I'm 46. So for the last 2 years, I'd say my weight hasn't really fluctuated that much, but my body composition has. I've gotten definitely leaner. I put on muscle. And so over the last 2 years, it's been consistent effort. And so I've talked about this before in terms of consistency and effort and matching your effort to your outcome. So I'd say like I was probably hitting a 50 to 60% effort for most of those 15 months because I wasn't in a rush, and I don't recommend you are ever in a rush. And it was just very more comfortable for me. So slower, but it lasted. And once I hit that 60%, every year I kind of added a little bit more consistency. So I was like 60% didn't feel hard anymore. So I went to 70%, 70% didn't feel hard anymore. And then it was 80%. 80% is kind of where I stayed. 80% is like, pretty dialed in. It's like I'm 6 out of 7 days pretty much on macros, on my plan, on target. With the 20%, like I call it like lazy nutrition. I'll have chips, I'll have extra peanut butter, I'll have a burger and fries, I'll have, the drink, the dessert, all that kind of stuff. And I'm really happy in this 80 to 20% land because it is very flexible. But earlier this year or later last year, 2024, so 45, I'm like, I want to fucking go hard. And I had to go to 90% consistency. And 90% consistency at 46 with 3 kids, a business, high needs, all the things, hormonal as fuck. Titrating HRT is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I had to redefine hard again. And so I ended up kind of where I am right now, which is in a little bit of burnout, and realize, at least 90% is too hard for me right now. It is just like, it's my limit. I'm going to go back to 80%. It's much more comfortable here. So I want to say this because if you were to see me on the gram and you see me in my bathing suit, and you might be like, oh, wow, you got abs. And I've had women, listen, I'm not here to like, I'm not going to fucking toot my own horn, but I've had women say to me, I want to look exactly like you. And I've had women respectfully say, I don't want to look like you. They're like, you look great. I don't want that. I don't want muscle like that. You're not the look. I have had a lot of women say to me, I want to look like you because you look normal. I see your stretch marks. I see your cellulite, and yet you're still really strong and you're lean. And I want that. And I think I can get that. And I'm here for you to get that. But I want you to understand, DD347, David, that left that comment for me, is that it wasn't easy for me to get here. It wasn't genetics that got me here. It was the hard fucking work. It was me having to say goodbye to a lot of friends that were very toxic. It was me having to leave places early because I had to go to bed because I wake up at 5 a.m. for my workouts. It was me showing up when I didn't want to. It was me showing up when I had every reason not to. It was me showing up in minus 20 degrees with snow on my car, still going to the gym. It was me prioritizing me and saying to my family, good night, I'm going to bed because I'm waking up in the morning. It was me bringing my own food to some meals because there was nothing for me to eat there. It was not easy. It is still never easy, but it means enough to me. And I have the support of those around me right now that I'm able to do it. So I want to make it clear that when you're comparing yourself to someone like me who's been working on this, I will say since 2019 is when I got my consistency up. But really, when I look back, I've been training since I'm 14. I fell in love with the gym at 14 years old is when I started lifting weights. So you cannot compare your year one, your month one with my 30 years behind my belt. You just can't do that, right? It's like when you're starting a business, you can't compare year one of you to like year 50 of, Elon Musk or whoever it is that you're looking up to. It's just not the same comparison. You got to compare apples to apples. So I want you to understand that like I didn't get here overnight. Like what got you here won't get you there. And I wasn't someone, if you told me in 2019 that I'd be at the level of discipline I am today every single day to maintain where I am, I'd say no. It would be a hard no for me. I would be like, I don't want to live like that. But I didn't get there overnight. I went from 2019 to 2020. Right? That steak, the fries, and the vodka. I went to 2021. I went to 2022. I went to dialing in breakfast even more, to dialing in lunch even more, to having treats after every single fucking meal, to not having treats after any meal, to having it once a week or maybe twice a week, to not leaving the table completely full and not eating like an asshole. And I say this 100 times. If you haven't heard this before, you haven't been listening. It took me 4 fucking years to stop eating like an asshole. So I want to make it super clear that when you are comparing yourself to anyone on the gram, anyone who is like, that vision that you think is where you want to get to or attain or wherever it is, they did not get there overnight. The shit was hard. It's still hard. I still have goals. So I hope this sheds some light. And Dee Dee, if you are listening, I hope that you understand that it is not just genetics. I understand that my shape of my body probably got me genetics. My butt is probably genetics, but like the rest of it, I fucking worked my ass for, and I continue to work my ass for. So hope this helps. I hope this also makes you a little bit more gentle with yourself. If you are starting off your journey right now and you are looking up to some women out there and you're like, I'll never get there, you will fucking get there, but you have to look at how long it took them to get there. So if you're trying to mirror me right now, we're in 2025. I've got 6 years on you. So in 6 years, talk to me and tell me how you're doing. Again, I'm going to link everything below if you want to reach out to me, share your journey with me. I'd love to know, where are you in your journey right now? And if you're not sure how to get there, I'd love to help you with our program. We have guaranteed results in our program. So go ahead, reach out to me. I'll leave the links below. Until the next time.